Who the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
Millionaires are being made all season long at DraftKings.com, America's favorite one-week fantasy football site. One-week fantasy means no season-long commitments. Play whenever you want. Got a player who's hurt? No problem. Injuries won't derail your shot at victory because it's like a new season every week, so you're never stuck with the same players. Pick your team in minutes, and you could be on your way to winning huge cash. This season, one listener turned $10 into $5,000. Another turned $2 into $10,000. And a new millionaire has been crowned nearly every week this season at DraftKings.com. You could be next. Imagine winning $1 million in one day just playing fantasy football at DraftKings. Head to DraftKings.com now and use promo code Spreaker to play free in the $10 million Fantasy Football World Championships. DraftKings.com. Bigger events, bigger winnings, bigger millionaires. Enter Spreaker now at DraftKings.com. DraftKings.com. That's DraftKings.com.
KHJ Los Angeles.
Portions of the day's programming are reproduced by means of electrical transcriptions or tape recordings.
Oh, hello, kids. If you're listening intently, that means you've got some pressure on your hands. It's fantasy football semifinal time, and that means it's the perfect time for the Week 15 starts and sits in 60 minutes with none other than the fantasy Greek himself, Jim Sarantias, who joins me now. How are you, Jim?
Keith, I'm doing great, and I'm very swell. How the heck are you?
Swell. Wow, I don't know if I can compete with swell.
I know it's tough. It's tough, isn't it? But you know, everything's cool, man. It's it's Wednesday night. It's hump day. This is one of the last few things I get to do before I get to go to bed, and that's hang out with you, my friend.
Oh, gee, glad I could fill a role here.
Absolutely.
All right, so folks, the rules here are we are going to go down game by game in the Week 15 matchups. Feel free to call in at any time with your fantasy football lineup questions, 585-633-7487. Once again, 585-633-7487. And you can also hit us up on Twitter at LN Sports Radio. That's the Twitter handle. And we'll be happy to take your calls or tweets regarding your individual lineup. Because, hey, you're one game away from your championship game. Don't screw it up. Don't screw it up.
Keith, let me interject. I want to talk about sort of real quick. One of the things fantasy football managers, players shouldn't do to screw things up, and that's don't overthink your lineup decisions. And what I mean by that is stick with the players that got you into the playoffs, the players that have helped you win. If you're staring at a player that you just picked up the waiver wire or you haven't put it into the active lineup in a while, it might be a player that you want to just stay away from. A simple one would be Aaron Rodgers going up against the Bills. Bills have a pretty good pass defense. I'm not benching him. I'm playing him. Going all in.
All right.
You know what I'm saying?
I hear you because I am one to tinker way too much. It's cost me in the past.
Yes.
And I'm getting very nervous, but we'll get into my team in the closing minutes like we always do.
Okay. And for anybody out there, call us. Hook it up. We'll hook you up.
One more time, 585-633-7487, 585-633-7487. All right, so the first game on our docket is the Thursday night game, the Arizona Cardinals versus the St. Louis Rams. The Cardinals, obviously, with a backup quarterback, Drew Stanton, the last game edging the Chiefs 17-14. Stanton 15 of 30 for 239 and a touchdown. Kerwin Williams hitting the century mark exactly, 19 rushes for, like I said, 100 yards, but no touchdowns. With Andre Ellington injured, that is an important development. The Rams, on the other hand, they are playing really good football, to say the least. The last game they shut out for this. They had their second week with a shutout. I mean, that's not nothing. Let's not lose sight of that. The Redskins 24-0. Sean Hill 16 of 22 for 213 and 2 touchdowns. Trey Mason, 66 yards on 20 carries. So a little bit discouraging there for Trey Mason owners. No touchdowns there. The Rams are home. They are playing. They're on a roll right now. And the Cardinals, while they still have the 6th best rushing defense, they have the 27th best passing defense in the league, and they don't run the ball very well. I don't like this team on the road. I'm going to pick the Rams.
Keith, this is a tough game on both sides of the football for these two teams, and if anything, you've got to like the defenses in this one. You can't look at Drew Stanton or Sean Hill, for that matter, and be impressed by anything that they've done this season. Both have had their struggles, more struggles than good things happen to them. And when you look at these two defenses, they're both tough. It's hard to like wide receivers on either team. It's hard to like the running backs in this particular case. So I'm advocating that the two top fantasy players in this game will be the Cardinals defense and the Rams defense, with the Rams defense having a slight edge at home. I'm calling them for the victory. A couple other fantasy options that you could consider this week. You could consider Larry Fitzgerald as a wide receiver 3 the last time these two teams met. He had a solid game. I want to say about 100 yards receiving, or 112 to be exact, actually. And then in terms of the running backs, they're better flex plays than they are RB2s. Everybody who picked up Kerwin Williams, I'm sorry to tell you, you should try to bench him if you can, if you have better options. Otherwise, you can roll with them. And the same thing with Trey Mason. This is not the greatest opportunity for him. For example, on one team I have him, I'm going to bench him, and I'm definitely playing Le'Veon Bell over him. In any case, Rams at home, Cardinals should be seeing some red, Keith. Back to you, buddy.
Oh, that was just fantastic.
I just thought I'd get that out of the way.
Back to you, buddy.
Let the listeners get it. Now they've got it. You've got it. I got it. We're done.
Yay.
Yay.
Oh, wait. I had something for that. That sound effect is only 4 seconds long, but I swear it's the longest 4 seconds in history.
It is.
The second game up, the Pittsburgh Steelers travel to the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons, last week, Monday night game against the Packers, looked absolutely as horrid as they have looked for most of the season, but then came storming back in the second half, only losing by 6 points. Julio Jones off the charts, but then he ended up getting hurt. He is listed as questionable as it sits right now. The Steelers, up and down. Le'Veon Bell has really come on throughout this season. Last week, 26 rushes for 185 yards, 2 touchdowns. Roethlisberger, 25 of 39 for 350 and 3 touchdowns. The Steelers have the second-ranked passing attack as far as yards in the league. It's pretty ridiculous. But they have been bad and against teams that you would normally expect them to play well against. The thing is here, kids, is that I think the Steelers are finding their groove. It's just a gut kind of instinct here. They came back on the Bengals in Cincinnati with 25 unanswered points in the fourth quarter. I don't see if Julio Jones is slowed even in the least, it will affect Atlanta's offense. Atlanta has the 21st ranked defensive rush defense, the 32nd ranked pass defense. It's not a good matchup for Atlanta, even if they are home. I'm picking the Steelers on the road.
Keith, that was an impressive comeback that they made against the Packers. And we were doing our show at the time, so we couldn't watch the whole game. But you got to tip your hat to them for doing what they did under the circumstances, and especially at Lambeau Field against a what has been a vaunted Green Bay Packers defense. This week, I do like the Steelers on the road. I like them for a lot of reasons, and a lot of those reasons are based on the game that we just saw against that the Falcons had against the Packers. I love this game for Big Ben. I like him as a QB1 this week. I love it for Antonio Brown. I love it for Martavis Murray. And I think you got to start these guys. I'm sorry, Martavis Bryant. You have to start these guys this week. Big Ben should be rolling for 300 yards and 2 to 3 TDs, which is more than sufficient to help you win your fantasy football game. I mean, the thing that the Falcons lack, and even some of the commentary touched upon it during the game, and it's that they lack a pass rush, and that secondary can only last so long against such a talented group of Steelers players, and the one to really look out for is Le'Veon Bell. He's the number one start this week in fantasy, go figure. And it's not just because of what he did last week, but it's because he's going against the team that's given up the most fantasy points to opposing running backs. So if you have Le'Veon Bell like I do on two different teams, you should expect him to be a top producer this week. For the Falcons, because of the passing, and the Falcons did something that we haven't seen all year. They were the Falcons. They had a great passing game. They blew it up in that second half. They looked like the Falcons we've been waiting for. I'm going to say that they're going to be able to do that again this week, even without Julio Jones if he shouldn't play. But I think somehow, some way, Julio will get into that game because they are very much in the hunt in the NFC West to get into the playoffs. So I like Matt Ryan this week as a low QB1. Obviously, if Julio Jones is active, you get him started. Roddy White, he's a must-start as a wide receiver, too. And if Julio Jones doesn't play, then get Harry Douglas in there and just expect this team to go. But I'm going to take the Steelers on the road.
And let's go to the CG Imaging Hotline. We have a caller. State your first name and the city you're calling from. Hello, are you there? Caller, are you there?
This is Ray from Fremont.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Ray from Fremont.
Oh, how you doing?
Good. How's it going, guys?
Good. You got a question for the Fantasy Greek?
Yeah, man. Barely squeaked by last week, despite Peyton Manning 2.72 points. In the playoffs, semifinals here. Got about $1,000 on the line. Need to win this one. I'm just not feeling good about starting him. I have Matt Ryan on the waiver wire, Tannehill, Eli, Colin Kaepernick, Alex Smith. The list kind of goes on. But do I bench him? I mean, he's my first rounder. He's gotten me this far. It's a tough call.
Well, you need to play Peyton Manning, and you need to play him because he's one of the top quarterbacks this season. In this same game against the Chargers when they last played, he had over, I want to say he had 250 to 300 yards passing as well as 3 TDs. I anticipate that this will be a high-scoring game once again, and you have to go with him. All the factors point at it. He's one of the top guys. He's got a favorable matchup. He's got a healthy group of receivers. He should get Julius Thomas back this weekend, and he takes on a defense like the Chargers that has been struggling a little bit as of late. So all the factors point in starting him. Thanks for your call, Ray.
All right, thank you very much for the call. Fantastic. 585-633-7487 to call in with your lineup questions. 585-633-7487. Next game up on the docket, the Jacksonville Jaguars take on the Baltimore Ravens. The 2-11 Jaguars. God. I really like this team to make an improvement in the preseason, but the record just doesn't show it. They are up and down on defense, and Blake Bortles is learning. It is what it is with him, pretty much. The Ravens 8-5. They come in with the 4th best rushing defense, the 5th best rushing attack, with the emergence of Justin Forsett, who has been a nothing but a complete lucky find, in my personal opinion. But you're not going to take anything away from him. He's doing a fantastic job since the whole Ray Rice fiasco there. You look at these two teams. It's in Baltimore. My knock against Baltimore is that they really haven't beaten anybody of substance, if I remember correctly. There's only like one team on their schedule that rates as a pretty good team. They beat the Dolphins pretty good last week, and the Dolphins may not be world beaters by any stretch of the imagination, but the Dolphins are at least a decent football team. They did that on the road, 28-13. And as much as I want to believe Jacksonville's improving, there's just no way they win this game. I'm picking the Ravens at home.
Keith, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to take the Ravens at home. The bottom offense that it's the worst in the one of the top 5 worst in the league at 27.4 points per game. It's a formula for disaster, and that disaster has been following them around for most of the season, with the exception of their 2 wins. I don't see this changing because the Ravens are very much in the playoff hunt. They're playing at home, and this is a must-win for them. if they want to make the playoffs in what has turned out to be an AFC North division that's up for grabs. That having been said,